Aloha. You are listening to KNKRLP 96.1 FM Kohala. It is about 3:04 p.m. on Wednesday, April 1st, April Fool's Day, April 1st, 2026. This is Michál Anna, and you are listening to Intuitive Talk Story. Welcome to the show. I am excited today to have with me my special guest, my incredibly wise and knowledgeable mama, Miss Karen Alvarado. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here once again.
Yeah, we're so glad to have you. Karina is a iridologist, nutritionist, and a wealth of information. So it's going to be fun to get into what she's wanting to talk about today. But before we do that, we're just going to take a moment in the spirit of Intuitive Talk Story and just ground in and become present so we can engage in whatever comes up today with an open heart, an open mind. So if you can, take a second to just close your eyes. Take some nice deep breaths into the center. Feel your roots digging deep through the earth, connecting to the center of the earth, taking a moment to just release anything you've been doing, anywhere you've been today. Being present with the God of your heart, source energy, Christ force, infinite love, however you express the great unity, great spirit, feeling connected in your own being to that essence, in your mind, heart coherence, that we connect, that we speak from an open, engaging heart, that we listen from this place and be open to the information, allowing ourselves to learn and grow and expand together. Mahalo. Mahalo nui loa ke akua. And so it is. So I'm excited to have you here. What's on your mind today?
Well, today is going to be a very unusual conversation. We're going to talk about parasites in humans.
Oh, parasites and bugs. Oh, I do love this topic. And it also can be a very spiritual topic as well. It's all correlated. So let's get into it. What's the first thing you'd like to share with us?
Well, a lot of people don't believe that we have parasites in this country. That's the first thing. I think it's something in other countries that when you go there, third world countries, etc. However, parasites are well underway in this country and have been for many, many years, decades probably. And parasites can be transmitted basically through animals and often through contaminated soil, water, or direct contact with infected animals and pets and wildlife, as well as food that hasn't been cooked properly or has not been washed properly, with i.e. our vegetables, or through contaminated water that you drink, and through food that's not cooked at all, like, raw food. There you go. Raw fish, not raw like vegetables.
Raw fish, raw meat. Some people eat raw meat.
Correct. So all of that can be an opportunity for microorganisms or parasites. And there's a lot of different ones. There's anything from roundworms to hookworms, tapeworms, et cetera, et cetera.
Ooh, so that's a lot to get into. So we're going to talk about those different things. But I think first off, here in Hawaii, I think we're a little more used to knowing that parasites exist. And that if you've ever opened a banana and looked inside of a overripe banana, you might see a little squiggly worm crawling around in there. Sometimes we just chomp into the banana and then that little tiny thing just went in your body, for instance. Or we've had, issues in Hawaii with different slugs or different things that create that if we eat them, or bugs in general. So you can think of parasites like bugs. And sometimes bugs get in our food and we eat them. Oranges can have some of that stuff in them too. You can see parasites in lots of different fruit. If it's overripe, look, you can tend to visually see that. So there's also, you talked about the water.
Correct.
Yeah, and you can't really see that. So, and I have traveled quite a bit myself, and um, definitely have seen a lot of issues with unclean water in people and in the body. And yeah, it's a real situation here. So, in general, and that can be just if you have well water or catchment, or it can be various sources. If we're not using, even our pipes might be, contaminated. So that's another great reason to purify our water as well. So tell us a little bit about some of these you just brought up. Where are they, and what do they do? What do they come from? And how do we deal with this?
Well, that's the first thing is that there's so many ways you can actually pick up parasites, and they can be through the skin too. Just walking around on really damp, moist sand, as an example, or areas where there has been fecal matter, etc. So when you're walking around barefoot, that's another aspect of it. So it can be transmitted through the skin, or and you can also eat it, of course, with regards to the food we were just talking about and the kinds of things you just mentioned. But the biggest thing is, wash your hands thoroughly after gardening or playing with pets and before eating. Try to wear shoes in the moist and sandy areas where animal feces may be present. Cook your meat and your fish thoroughly, and wash fruits and vegetables really well before eating them, and examine them just like you did. That's a pretty good example, opening the banana and not even noticing it. I saw one, these little worms, little bug actually peeking out of the banana when I was peeling them to freeze them. I was like, oh, yuck. It was really kind of gnarly. I've never seen that before.
Oh, well, I've seen that a lot. So yeah, that's good. If you take the time to look, you'll find some things you're not really used to. So obviously, I'm going to say this right now because I'm a huge barefoot wearer and I love to go barefoot all over the place. Obviously, not in like dealing with horse manure or cow manure or this or that. So if you're putting manure on your garden, wear shoes. But if you're just out and about in the earth, this is not a proponent to live in fear on any levels. It's to live in awareness and to be aware of what you're doing. Open cuts, that kind of thing, are a big
Right.
issue here in Hawaii. Like, you don't get in the water when you have an open cut. You're just asking for something to enter that open cut. You don't stand barefoot in places when you have open wounds. So cleanliness, dealing with open wounds, those are some really simple ways that we can be aware of how we're managing ourselves. But you brought up a few specific parasites, and would you like to share a little more on those?
Well, those are normally from contaminated animals. There's a really small other kinds of parasites that have different names that are from food. Those are microorganisms. You really even can't see those. But under a microscope, which I can look at live and dry blood, I can pick up if somebody's gotten parasites. And normally, when you have tapeworms, those are going to be pretty big. They're much more challenging to get out of the body. Hookworms I can see under the microscope, and those can be very dangerous to the intestinal system. So if somebody's having a lot of digestive issues, diarrhea, bloating, gas, those usually live in the gut, in the intestinal system. Unfortunately, they can be on the skin or internally, and your symptoms could range from a whole host of things: headaches, feeling tired. They do steal nutrients from the body. So there's a lot of symptoms that one can have prior to maybe having quote unquote disease show up in the body. So a lot of diseases, the precursors are going to be parasites for that. So when I'm working with anybody, one of the first things I try to do is make sure there is no parasites in the body, because I'm trying to keep people well. And they don't even know that they may have them, but they have just some random symptoms, associated to their health. and mostly it's digestive is what people can really relate to.
Yeah. Oh, you bring up so many good things. So I want to make the correlation here because with the energetics as well as the physical body is kind of the last place things show up. They show up in the energetics and the spiritual region often first. And I have a little story from long ago when I first started understanding this stuff in my early 20s. And of course, my mom has been a nutritionist and a spiritualist for many, many years. And we were actually, I wasn't with my mom at this time, but I got, in essence, I either ate something weird, but it felt like a spiritual parasite from a person who was funky, like some funky energy. And it was kind of a Hansel and Gretel situation. I was a young person. I was like 23. I had met this woman in Mexico. I was traveling in Oregon with a friend of mine. I went to go visit her. I dropped off my friend, said, I'll meet you back over here. I went to her house, and it was really strange. She gave me some food. I don't even remember what it was. But as soon as I ate the food, I started feeling really weird and kind of tired and out of it. And she said, oh, you should lay down. You should stay here. I could work on you. You should stay the night. And it felt like that Hansel and Gretel, like she was trying to take me. And so I said, no, 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 I got to go. And I got myself out of her house, drove, but I was sick to my stomach. Like I couldn't eat anything. I felt like I had a spiritual tapeworm in my body. I couldn't eat anything. I'd puke it back up. So it was for a number of hours. We drove up to the Northwest. I wasn't feeling well. And this is kind of like a story that's going to merge kind of the spiritual and the physical here, because it's also going to expand your maybe awareness around the capacity of ourselves to clear ourselves. So I actually at the time was kind of, like, let's say kind of like a hippie girl. And I went to this coffee shop, and there was some girls that were real nice, sweet, like loving people. And I asked them if they could hold space for me, just hold my hands while I prayed over myself and did prayer in the Christ Force energy to clear myself of whatever had happened. And in this case, it's kind of showing you how we're more powerful than we know. And if something gets on you, we kind of need a little support. We need a little bit of help from our friends, and because we're kind of like batteries. And that's another topic. But so at any rate, they held hands with me. I prayed over myself and cleared my energy, which my mom had taught me long before that. And I was able to clear myself. And I went back in and had a really hearty sandwich right after that. No problems whatsoever. So some things are spiritually related. Some things, when they get ingrained in our system, if I become real physical problems. So this kind of comes into catching things right away and being real aware of our body and then dealing with it right away. Then there's other times, of course, I have done parasite cleansing via my doctor here, my mom, and have seen incredible results. So I've under her instructions, I have pretty much done cleansing, on an annual basis, just kind of like see how everything is and clean it out. So what are your thoughts on some of that?
Well, anybody that comes in with any kind of digestive distress or nutrient depletion or skin problems, let alone anemia and immune issues, I'm going to be looking at what's going on with the body in terms of, first of all, parasites. So parasites can be a combination, like you said, spiritual and physical. So often, what I love is, since you do such incredible work in the energetic world, is I like for you to actually work on the person first, so that we can remove anything there that might show its rear or rear its head, with regards to that aspect of it spiritually, because those can show up too, even they will leave the body when there's enough energetic vibrational frequency.
Mm-hmm.
So, which reminds me of the time, let's see, Hulda Clark actually had a parasite zapper, and
Mm-hmm.
you would hold it, and it would literally zap the parasites inside your body. Basically had a vibrational frequency,
Mm-hmm.
so that's super cool. And I used to have those and sell them once upon a time. So it just reminded me of that when you're talking about parasites spiritually. So it's always good to hold that vibrational energy and frequency.
Yeah, frequency. Everything is energy and vibration. So when we get to enough of a vibrational frequency that things cannot exist in our body, that's another way to have a defense against bugs, which is really what this is: spiritual bugs, other bugs, and most all the bugs feed on sugar. They feed on a lot of these things that aren't really great for us. Like I always say, like the sodas and all the stuff is really just bug juice.
Ah, bug juice.
So you talk about frequency. We'll bring up a simple one that's available to all of us. Is there's actually a ton of frequency music on YouTube, Spotify, these kind of things, and there are specific ones for viruses, for parasites at certain hertzes. So if you're interested in finding out more about that, check those out. And you can of course Google anything nowadays. And that might be a way to help support you. It's just sleeping to more vibratory music in general to lift your vibration, to help you move into a higher vibratory field, along with what I know she's going to tell us about, which is changing our diet to match the vibrational health that we want to exist in. So tell us a little more.
So when we're talking about, first of all, a lot of people, some people don't really get them, like you said, because of vibration, but it's because they have a very strong digestive system. So a good way to check your digestive system is through pH strips, and that pH of the saliva should be at a 6.5, which means you have sufficient amount of hydrochloric acid in the stomach. And so the stomach should be somewhat more acidic than the neutrality of the blood. But when I say 6.5, that's on the scale of the pH strips. So you would see that if you had pH strips, it has numbers, and you can test your own pH. If it's too low, that means you have an inflammatory condition in the digestive system, and parasites can get through that way. So why hydrochloric acid? Okay, well, basically hydrochloric acid is going to kill those bugs before they enter into the intestinal system. So it's a protectant. I love what God has given us as natural protectants to keep us out of harm's way, but that's the main thing, aside from it being able to digest and assimilate your food.
So the acidic, that's it. So you're more an acidic quality if you're in an inflammatory digestion, if it's lower on those pH.
Yeah.
And then what happens when you're an alkaline,
Now,
too
if
over
you're
alkaline?
over alkaline, for sure we know you. In either case, whether it's too alkaline or over acidic, we know that you've lost your hydrochloric acid. And I just treat it in different ways in order to get the balance back and to heal that lining of the stomach, get the enzymes, digestive enzymes going again, or bitter herbs, so that we can make sure that we've got the necessary gastric juices in the stomach in order to assimilate, digest, and absorb your food, let alone kill all microorganisms. So the longer they live in the body, the more harm they can cause. Eventually, as an example, affect your immune system. And then, autoimmune disease can exist with regards to microorganisms. So there are so many things. And if anybody has cancer, we know they've got parasites, unfortunately. So that's usually not looked at or treated with regards to the conventional
Western medicine, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So,
But if you are dealing with a condition out there, autoimmune condition, one of the first go-tos is do a parasite cleanse, right? Get the parasites out. And there's a number of ways to do that.
well, and it's a process, to be honest with you. I have, I think, one of the best parasite cleanses out there. Now, people think, well, I'll just take a parasite remedy for a week. Well, that's not going to work. It has to be for a minimum of a month. And what happens is that I usually do it, and again, it's all vibrational frequency, 5 days before the full moon.
And we're here at the full moon right now because the parasites are out right now, right?
Right, right. So this is a good time for anybody who wants to come in and get checked. They can. This is when I can really see them active under the microscope.
Right. That's kind of like, all the things they talk about this in folklore, right? So it's, the werewolves, so this, everything's out in the full moon. And it's actually true. The bugs are going crazy during the full moon time.
Yeah, look what it does to the ocean. So let alone our body, right? So anyway, the moon. Okay, so 5 days before the full moon, and then you start. That's when you start the cleanse because that's when the adult parasites are the most active. So we want to in the first 2 weeks, we want to kill all of the adults. So we're killing them in that 2 week period through the full. It's a parasite cleanse with many different types of herbs in it. You can't just take like one little herb and expect them to be gone. That's not the way it works. Then you wait 5 days and you wait for the larvae to hatch, the baby eggs, the eggs that were produced by the adults, and then you go in and kill them for 2 weeks. So all in all, this is about a little over a month cleansing that one needs to do. And if you've had them for a long time, sometimes I'll take people through another full round. And so the goal is to not get the parasites, you might say, if somebody does it just like for a week or something, you're just going to piss them off. And they're going to move from one part of the body to another part. That's the dangerous part about doing these cleanses on your own if you don't know what you're doing. They can move to another organ. They can move to your heart. They can move to your brain. There's some brain conditions that we know have parasites in the brain. So we want to get rid of all the microorganisms in the gut, in the organs, in the brain, wherever they may have decided to go.
Ooh, scary almost, right? So that's why we want to be on top of it. And it helps to have support, in these things. And if we don't know what we're doing, like what you just said, then they're moving around and just building up shop somewhere else. And they're very sneaky.
Yeah, very sneaky. That's true. And all microorganisms, are alive, and they're saying, "Feed me, feed me." So when people are craving different kinds of things, that's another wake-up call. Oh, why am I craving it at nighttime? Because the cravings get worse because the microorganisms are more active at night also. So they're basically saying, "Feed me, feed me, feed me sugar." That's what they live off of. They also live off of heavy metals. So that's the other piece of it. So people may not do heavy metal detoxification and cleansing of those. And so we want to get rid of the food that the parasites eat, the sugar, the heavy metals, all those kinds of things. And then we want to get rid of the parasites. If not, you're just wasting time and money trying to get rid of the parasites. And like I said, making them angry. They'll just go to another location where they can, get fed with regards to what they're looking for. So it's a process of making sure that we have changed the diet. We want to make sure we've minimized the amount of processed sugars you do. I just tell people no processed flours, no processed sugars. It's pretty easy, in your daily diet to remember, no processed sugars, no processed flours. And then with regards to that, you can better manage your diet and your gut health on a regular basis.
Now, just to throw out there, because I know, we all love rice and bread. So rice and bread pretty much convert to sugar. So this is a big one, especially in our communities here. It's a big one to try and take white rice out of the diet. But there's a lot of really great things that can be replaced, like sweet potatoes and ulu, breadfruit, yams, squashes, like doing more root crops and more of going more that route. Or if you really love rice, doing wild rices, but I know that, those can be more expensive. So we kind of come back to growing our own food and supporting farmers that do grow food and becoming closer to the earth and closer to our relationship to food in general. We always say, like, if the ingredients are, there's more than 5 ingredients on the thing, don't eat it.
Yeah, right.
If you can't pronounce it, you probably don't want to eat it. Who knows what that turns into?
Keep it simple. Oh, I was going to say, probably mamas are the most aware of this, and their children. Pinworms is what most children would pick up for some reason, out playing in the sand and the dirt and,
Putting
just
stuff in their mouth.
yeah, so pinworms is pretty common, and a lot of mothers have dealt with pinworms and have had those treated, with various sorts of ways. So that's a different type of parasite, and a little bit easier to get rid of. And I was going to say with the pinworms, you're going to have anal itching. That's the main thing you see, and sometimes you can see when dogs are, scooching on the grass or in the dirt or whatever, that they have probably pinworms too. So that's a good time to deworm your dog. Ivermectin is one of the ways what farmers use ivermectin all the time to deworm their animals. So that's very, very popular, and it became very popular during the COVID situation because it does get rid of all microorganisms when people got very, very sick during that time.
Right. And I had a pretty interesting, memorable moment in when I was in Guinea, West Africa, working and doing the nonprofit work there, building a school. And there was a mom brought her child to me, and he had actually drowned for like 7 minutes, and he was not the same. He was out of it. And at first, to be honest, I was like, well, what could I do? And that was kind of the little me voice feeling like, oh, I don't know what to do. But again, how I like to talk about sensing into life and sourcing the flow, I really just tapped into God and just kind of asked God, what can I do here? And I really heard, well, you know how to retrieve souls, you know how to do soul retrievals. And I also heard, well, and they told me that he was pooping out worms. I said, well, I know what to do about that. I can give him something for the worms. So I ended up doing a soul retrieval with this little boy. He was only 2, and the parents, and I gave them Artemisia to help remove the parasites and probably, little pinworms. And they came back to me in 2 days and said that he was completely fine, totally himself, and was pooping out worms and was like acting as his normal self. And then it was pretty special because I worked for many years. I did 7 winters in West Africa. So I was able to actually see these people again, and they would keep track and show me that he was going to school and that he was doing really well. And they thanked me kind of for a long time for saving his life. And it was a really pivotal case. And I just back to trusting ourselves and trusting the knowledge you have, and keeping the faith, and then using tools and simple remedies to also help a physical thing. And of course I did some spiritual stuff there too, but it's pretty amazing.
Well, that was a miracle more than anything, because I'm sure everybody thought it was a miracle that this little boy could come back in 2 days like that. That's it. That is miraculous. And so it's about trusting your higher self and trusting God, and knowing that healing, all healing on a deeper, higher level can be accomplished, let alone on this physicality realm that we live in. And that's a beautiful story, for sure.
Thank you.
To go back to a couple other things, a lot of people have teeth grinding, and that can be another symptom,
Right.
of
Another tell.
parasites. So if your teeth grinding, you might want to think about that aspect of it, and instead of just going to a dentist and getting a mouthpiece or whatever. Also, a lot of stiffness and joint pain. A lot of pain can be associated to parasites, microorganisms. They can live in the muscles. And so there's just so many different symptoms, that I would like people to pay attention to before they hit the big D, disease, because by that time, wow, we're really in deep, right? And so
So cleansing, like what I'm getting out of what you're saying is just cleanse. Do annual cleansing, do periodic cleansing, get checkups on this level. Where if someone wanted to get a checkup with you, or wanted to find out more about their own health with you, what's a way they could get a hold of you?
well, they could easily call me. That's the
But
first thing.
what's a way I can tell them right now? Like KarenForHealth@gmail.com.
Oh yeah, my email. That's the best way probably.
So that's the number 4, health at gmail.com. If you're interested in learning more about this for your own internal health, that's one way. If you live here in town, or even if you don't, if you can do a workup. She's a great resource in that. So we are going to come right back. We're going to take a little station break, think about some of that information, and we'll be right back with more Intuitive Talk Story.
This is Kathy B. with Jazz Time. If you love jazz, you're going to love listening to my Big Band Jazz Time show on Wednesday evening from 6 to 8. And if you want to start your day with a morning cup of coffee and some jazz, a rerun of it on Thursday morning, 8 o'clock. That's Kathy B. with Jazz Time on KNKR.
Are you looking to shop locally for delicious farm-fresh fruits and vegetables, local meats, cheeses, eggs, pasta, chocolate, and so much more? Kohala Food Hub offers an ultra-convenient farmer's market at your fingertips. You can shop online for the freshest local food, and on Wednesdays, you can either pick up your order in Hawi or have it delivered to your doorstep. By shopping with Kohala Food Hub, you not only bring the freshest, locally sourced food to your table, you also support local farmers and ranchers and our community's goal of food self-sufficiency. To learn more, visit kohalafoodhub.com or call 808-896-3179. Our online market is open from Fridays at noon to Mondays at midnight. We'd love to serve you soon.
Are you at wit's end over a loved one's substance use? Don't know where to turn for help? Call the Ohana Coaches at 808-523-7550 to talk to someone who has experienced what you are going through. This is a free service. The Ohana Coach Program is a group of trained volunteer coaches that provides support and resources for people who have loved ones dealing with substance use issues. To talk to a parent coach, call 523-7550. That's 523-7550.
Okay, we are back. You are listening to KNKR LP 96.1 FM Kohala. It's about 3:35 p.m. You're listening to Intuitive Talk Story. I'm Michál Anna, having an awesome conversation here with Karen Alvarado, nutritionist, iridologist, and we're discussing parasites and bugs and things that you don't want crawling around inside your body, and how to rid ourselves of those, and some ways that through food and through health practices that we can really own our sovereignty in our body temple. So
So we want to talk about what we talked about, heavy metals briefly, and removing the heavy metals out of our body. And a good way to do that is through food. As an example, chlorella is a great one to pull heavy metals out of the body. That's one. There's several others. I do use a combination of herbs also with regards to doing that. There also is, okay, well, how do we get them? Okay, well, they're in food and they're in water and they're airborne. And what I want to say about that is, again, preventive health is the best way to go. So if you are deficient in minerals, heavy metals will be the filler for those. As an example, aluminum is one that you don't want in your body, and it can be picked up through different kinds of sprays that you do, contaminated sprays, chemicals in your
deodorant,
cleaning products.
supplies, deodorants. Deodorants have a lot of heavy metals.
Cooking pans.
Cooking pans,
Aluminum
right.
Cooking pans. In fact, they think that's one of the causes of cognitive decline. So, but you want to be able to have the appropriate minerals in your body that connect the dots. In other words, we have little receptor sites or buckets that hold all these healthy minerals like calcium and potassium and sodium. But if they don't exist in the body, then you're going to pick up heavy metals. and they can be picked up through a variety of ways. Again, like water, through the pipes. If you're not drinking purified water, if you don't have a water filter system on your sinks at home, or your shower heads. We have a lot of old pipes here in Kohala, so that's a concern. So not just drinking water, but having it on your skin.
Yeah, your skin is the largest organ you have, and we absorb everything. So everything you're putting on your skin, like all these lotions, like Nevia and I don't know, Vaseline, all these things, they're actually contaminants. Honestly, you're soaking it into your skin. You're thinking I'm hydrating, but really, like I love to use oils,
Right.
just straight oils, things that are going to give you suppleness in your skin. And you can find a lot of really great products right here in town. We have a number of, I've got a body butter over there, over there at the Kohala Grown store. So that there's some real natural products over there. Finding things you like to replace, it's like you don't have to take everything out of your world. It's like, but nowadays there's so many ways to replace it with something that's super good for you. So I know we get really used to the things we've liked and, oh, so-and-so, everybody's used it or, what have you. But there's a lot of ways to do more natural products, and especially perfumes, deodorants. Those all have a lot of chemical input.
Not to mention makeup.
Yeah, the makeup. Whee!
So unfortunately, my female clients do tend to be more contaminated with heavy metals and pollutants because of the lotions and the potions and the makeup and the hairsprays and all the things they put on their bodies. And so it isn't really, really important to consider going as al natural as possible.
Yes, exactly.
And don't forget mercury. That's a really big one.
Fillings.
Unfortunately, mercury is in a lot of the big fish.
Right.
Not to mention your feelings. So if you're gonna,
Right, but nowadays you're right with the fish and the input on their fish. A lot of times we're having a lot of heavy metal input.
right.
Yeah, which is really sad.
And
And plastic. Oh my gosh.
oh my gosh, plastic too. So yeah, the heavy metals in your mouth. Don't forget that. That's another aspect of it. And so if you have mercury in your mouth, you want to have it removed, but you want to have it removed by a professional dentist that knows how to do that safely.
Well, I will say this about that. I did actually ask my own dentist about removing the mercury in my mouth because I do have some in my mouth. And when I was young, and actually because of the way the fillings were, he said it's even a little more dangerous to get it out than to leave it there. Because right now it's contained. But if he tries to remove it and there's any what have yous, that could be really dangerous. So it depends on your fillings. You may just have to wait it out and do your best you can. I do Craxel chlorella daily. I do a lot of things to help support myself in releasing heavy metals from my body. I do notice even, I looked it up one time around our trees, and the metals in like the air or the aluminum or whatever, what have you. But trees, there's different algae and funguses that grow on the trees. And when I looked it up online, even it said that can often be from too much heavy metal input, that they will leach out the tree and the tree will grow these funguses to try and combat that. So I'm seeing a lot of fungus and like algae on a lot of my trees. And so we need to give the nutrients to the trees as much, and that's on me for not giving as many nutrients to my trees. But it's just like my body, right? And we need to give those minerals and nutrients so that they're not leaching heavy metals. The tree is just like us, and it's a real like visceral, visible thing to look at and go, oh wow, we are just kind of like that ourselves.
Right. So environmental is important. And being exposed to that. What if you're working with those trees and you're trying to clean them up? Make sure you're wearing protective equipment, whether it be gloves or something for your eyes, etc. So the main ways are through consumer products, okay, that you can get heavy metals and contaminants. Environmental and industrial exposure, breathing in fumes from work, and all the environments that all of our gardeners work in and down at the hotels, etc. They're working with
Golf
some pretty,
courses.
pretty terrible pollutants and pesticides and things like that. And like I said, environmental from working with your and inhaling cigarette smoke.
Right.
That's the other one.
Well, especially if you're, for those of you who smoke out there, I'm not telling you what to do, but you could go to natural if you're not ready to stop smoking. You could go to natural tobaccos, and then of course there's a lot of ways these days to actually get off of it entirely. Lots of really great natural ways. That people are finding freedom from that. But the contaminants in regular cigarettes, like Marlboros and Camels and all that kind of stuff, Cools, there's so many chemicals, and that's just like creating a huge amount of toxins and metals in your body. And then you were talking about professions, and a lot of people here are in construction, are doing heavy metal, like welding, doing garden work, doing spraying for bugs down at people's houses, like all that stuff is got
Carpenters.
it has got a lot of contaminants. Carpentry, these sealants and wood sealers and all these different things that we use are creating contaminants. So if you are working in that realm, another great input is getting one of those what is it, not a 1099, but the masks that have the filters on them.
Yeah.
The more I'm forgetting what they're called right now.
Yeah, N91 or something.
N90 or something of that regard. But
They're
the masks with
recommending.
filters on them, because just wearing a mask over your face doesn't actually really protect you from chemical components. You really need like a filtration system.
Right, the kind that have that allow you to breathe while you're working. Don't forget hair salons.
Yeah.
People who do nails.
Right.
And what about that? Painting your nails, hair salons, nails. Oh my gosh, the list goes on and on and on. Really, when you think about it, all of the cleaning chemicals.
Department stores, perfumes.
What about all the chemicals that we use cleaning our houses? It's really important to do as much natural in that environment too. Vinegar is a great cleaning solution.
And borax.
Yeah. And laundry detergents hold a lot of chemicals in them, a lot of contaminants. So if you think about it, it can just go on and on. So when somebody comes in, I kind of go through a whole list of that. What are you exposed to on a daily basis? Where you keep continuing to get the contaminants? We don't want to just keep cleansing you on a regular basis. We want to make sure we can minimize it and also reduce your exposure to it. Like I said, using a water filter.
Yeah, keeping yourself, being aware of what you're being exposed to daily and removing those things from your life and replacing it with something that actually works and is not toxic to yourself and to your children and to your home.
Unfortunately, children are much more affected by it. They're more susceptible to the effects of heavy metal exposure. So be very careful around the children, what you expose them to. Unfortunately, a lot of the things that are, used in the medical profession are exposing them.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of, shots and things like that maybe we don't need. That, why, if it's not broke, don't try to fix it. Our immune systems really work. They're, in the 70s, they really were proponents of using our immune system, giving a strong, healthy immune system, getting our bodies to work, getting our bodies to be in an optimum form so they're strong enough to fight anything instead of relying on chemicals or shots or this or that. Instead we can uprise our own physical health. What would you say about what does acne show? What is that a component of? I think of acne as being like stuff trying to get out of the body and contaminants. So what can you tell us about that?
Well, again, your skin's your largest eliminative and assimilative organ. And so if there's acne, normally I treat it internally. It's either from candida, too much sugars in the body, also parasites. So if you have any kind of itching and rashes and things like that, it's going to be microorganisms that are living inside the body.
Right. So and when we talk about diet, we've got about 12 minutes. So when we talk about diet here, of like some things you could do. Like if you're like, oh my God, I might be like a bug temple right now. Like this might be, I might be inhabited with bugs. What can I do now? Stop eating sugar. Like stop with any drinks outside of, it's like drink water, drink tea, no sugar drinks, no energy drinks, anything you're getting at a gas station. All of those are pretty much corn fructose high, syrup as the first ingredient. And then even just cane sugar, you're still talking sugar. So removing sugar from your world and things that turn into sugar and going to what I've always heard you say is more protein and greens, right? So more protein and greens. We want green leafy vegetables. Bugs don't actually really like dark greens, right? They're not super into them.
No, they won't live off of that for sure. I was going to say there's the other aspect of it is contaminated food, such as, believe it or not, coffee. Coffee is one
there's
of the
a lot
most
of chemicals.
sprayed plants out there. It's really, apparently, for some reason, they just spray the heck out of. That's why it's so important to get organic coffee and organic teas, by the way. So food, it can be really contaminaminated, and coffee. I don't mind that people drink coffee. I like coffee myself, but it has to be organic. It has to be organic.
So you bring up a great point. People are like, well, I go to the store and I get fruit and I get vegetables and I think I eat healthy. But is it organic?
Right.
Because all of those things in our Western American farms are being sprayed heavily. All corn, wheat, and soy is being sprayed profusely with Roundup, which has huge amounts of things. And that brings in another problem, which is glyphosate. And again, we do have things to address these health issues. Like if you want to reach out, there are things to address this stuff so you don't have to live with it. But it is about being proactive. So glyphosate cannot be cooked or washed out of your food. So it's something that then starts to deplete the microbiome of the gut, creating holes in the gut. And then you've got, where I can't eat anything and I think I'm gluten intolerant or all these different things, but perhaps not. It might actually be a degradation of the gut or a parasitical activity. So the chemical components that we are exposed to all the time is kind of an uphill battle sometimes, right? Sometimes I feel like, the way I've chosen to eat is like kind of like a girl in a bubble. But we have a lot of options in our community with healthy farms and, with the online food hub markets and with farmers that are growing good food in our area and around our island. So getting in touch with your local farmers and having direct relationship with your food is a really great start.
Yeah, we are definitely blessed to live in an environment where we have so many farmers and you can get healthy food on a daily basis with regards to plant-based food.
Yes.
Fruits and vegetables, those kinds of things. So yeah, that's really important too. And same thing with rice. If it sits around too long, it can get contaminated. So we should keep the rice in the fridge.
Oh yeah, I mean I've had buckets of rice, and then like I go to check the rice, and there's tons of bugs. Chokes bugs have just entered into my rice. I have to throw all of it away. So that's another thing to be aware of is how are you storing your food?
Right.
Here in the tropics, we definitely have to like seal up our jar and seal things so that things don't get in. And your flour too, like bugs get in the flour.
Yeah, I keep my flour in the freezer.
I keep mine in the freezer too. Yeah, so I mean, we have to be aware of this stuff, and then of course, just always keeping your surfaces of your home and your kitchen clean so that you're not attracting more bugs. Basically, if there's anything anywhere, it's gonna get eaten. It's kind of what it comes down to. And that goes into ourselves too. If we are a breeding ground of sugars and, things like that, then we attract bugs. So back to that vibratory health. What is my vibration? What am I eating? And do I want to vibrate like a Twinkie? Or do I want to vibrate, like an awesome, juicy, organic watermelon, or or something really good for me? A watermelon still does turn into sugars if you're eating a lot of it, so that might not be the best example. But eating things that are going to create more pH balance, and Karina, Mama touched on that earlier. Wouldn't mind hearing a little more about that pH balance, because that also aligns with what minerals and things are even being assimilated. So if your pH is off, you might not even be getting that calcium you're taking.
Yeah, the only thing now, this is really fascinating, by the way. We eat for the energy of the food. And it can actually, there is some fascinating equipment that's out there that can test the vibrational frequency of food. So plants vibrate in the 90s. Meat vibrates like in the teens. So when you think about that and you're eating for the vibration of food, plants vibrate a lot higher. They're living organisms for us. They continue to feed our body and to nourish the cells in our body.
Yeah, biblically they say, eat all of the nuts, plants, and seeds of the earth are there for you to eat upon. And I read, is so interesting, that moringa, if you're not familiar with moringa actually has a 35% higher protein profile than meat, which I thought was fascinating. Like, wow, that is a really steep number and a real different game. And then, of course, both of us do a lot of high organic premium protein shakes and powders and green powders. And there's a lot of ways to supplement your diet to create a really healthy environment. And that, of course, again, if you are wondering how to addressing these things, you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'd like to get a workup. Again, how can they get in touch with you, Karen?
Just email is the best. Karen, Karen, the number 4, health @gmail.
Wonderful. And so, yeah, we are here in this time where we do have to be more aware of what we're doing and how we're doing it based on the kind of toxic environment that we've created as humans. And, it's just really everything comes back to keep the country, right? Keep it roots. Stay with natural, real things kind of on every level. What you're eating, what you're putting on your body, how you're living your life, not get over no machines, no bugs, no nothing. Let's stay in more of a real existence with real life and real food and real things. So, in kind of getting ready to wrap up here, we've got just a few minutes left. What else would you like to share?
I feel blessed that we live here in Kohala, and even more so than, Kona and Hilo, because there's a lot of traffic. And guess what? Just think of the people that live in the city and the amount of pollution that is occurring from driving their cars and being in their cars, and the pollution in the air. It's just so horrific. You can see it when you go to different cities. And so we are blessed to live in a much more clean environment. And plus, on top of that, we aren't, most people, because we're in the tropics, we don't have carpets. Carpets carry a lot of pollution. So we have, just our floors that we can wash and clean with hopefully natural ingredients. I just use a hot water steamer, in terms of washing my floors. But yeah, carpeting is another aspect of it. So
Oh, yeah.
I don't have a wall to wall carpeting in my house.
Yeah, it can hold a lot of mites and dust mites and all kinds of other things. And then you get kind of into allergies. And then, another big one we have to worry about a lot here is mold.
Yeah.
Mold. So, things that can help the mold, utilizers, ionizers to kill the mold, vinegar, bleach, not my favorite, but still these kind of things help to release mold, because mold can also create really intense things.
Well, as a matter of fact, one of the things I check for is mold, of course. Run the gamut: heavy metals, parasites, and, candida, mold, those viruses, bacteria. I pretty much run the gamut of seeing everything that you might have in your body that's circulating, because mold will cause cognitive decline. It will make you feel weak. It can cause headaches. Mold can live in your furniture, unfortunately. So, if you got to wash, if you have curtains in your house, you got to wash them on a regular basis, and use cleaners to clean your furniture, steamers or that type of thing. So mold is just one. That's the one thing we do have to live with here in Hawaii.
Yeah, so the more we got, the more we have to do maintenance, right? Maintenance work. So we got to take care of ourselves, take care of our environments, take care of our homes, and what we choose to put our energy into. So, and if you do live in a city, like you would just have to work a little harder, right? At creating health for yourself and being aware of what you're exposed to. So, after today's show, maybe everyone will take a little list of what am I exposing myself to and what kind of solutions can I choose to navigate a more healthy environment and a healthy lifestyle so that I can help support myself in living in a lot more joy and freedom, because ultimately that's what all this is about. Is the more we take care of ourselves, the more fun we get to have, because we're not experiencing dis-ease and pain and all of the gnarly things. We're not overrun by bugs, and instead we're living sovereign and free and really experiencing that in our body, mind, spirit temple.
That's right. And you know what? I have to say that not to be on the fear element again, is that your body is an amazing machine. And so your liver and your kidneys are always working to be able to remove pollutants and microorganisms and all kinds of contaminants. And your intestinal system, is working all the time, pooping them out, whatever the case may be. But our body does protect us a great deal from regards to the things we're talking about. So we need to keep that in mind. But given the fact that you continue to expose it and overexpose it, that's when things start shutting down.
Right. I've always heard you say life and death ends and begins in the colon. So it's like really, but begins in the colon, that colon health and the gut health. And that's a real tell as to what's going on in your body. So okay, we hope you've been inspired to take a look at your health and to do proactive things and not be afraid, but actually know that there's the power to move into greater health and feel really awesome in your body vessel. And it does take a little more work. There's no miracle pill, but there is, the more we choose healthy options, healthy choices for ourselves and our lifestyle in body, mind, and spirit. It is a trinity, so to speak. We have to kind of do it all. Then we get to live in a higher vibratory field and experience more fun.
That's right.
So thank you so much for coming on the show today and talking about bugs and parasites and all the things. And I appreciate it. And we'll look forward to having you back again soon on more health topics, etc. And everybody out there, take good care of yourself. Enjoy your health, your wellness. Be free, live free. And mahalo. Appreciate you. Aloha.
Aloha. Thank you.